And then I got in. I was like, there's 3 pedals. Is this a manual? And they're like, yes, it is. I was like, well, I can't drive.
What does that do?
Ride them.
We're like, yeah, we don't use that word, okay? It's called encouragement, positive reinforcement. That's what we use. Right. I just like went running. I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm so nosy.
But no, you have to go out of your way to encourage females to work at your workplace. You have to make sure that you let them know that it's a safe workplace for them to work. Yeah. And you have to make sure that they're going to be valued, that they're going to have growth opportunities at your workplace.
Those multitasking skills, girl.
Exactly. You know what they say? If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Oh yeah, because all women who go to gym are hoes. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, women who go to the gym, all they want to do is, you know, whatever, sleep around. Or that's what I mean.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, with the whole gender gay. Oh, guys, I swear I should
be passionate about it.
I should be a meme sometimes. The things that I say.
I love it. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brown Girls Down Under. This is episode 6, I think. I'm Dashani, one of your hosts, joining from Adelaide, South Australia, and I've got Shanali.
Hi Dash, hi everyone.
Hi.
Yes, and I'm from Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. And we just thought we'll give a little bit of an introduction because I think we've gained a lot of listeners and viewers over the last few weeks, which we are so thankful for. So thank you so much. Yeah. But for those of you who don't know, we are from 2 different states in Australia. And we've just come together to do a very random podcast, which everyone seems to be liking. So that's really good news.
I know. Very surprised. We thought we'll just have like 2 listeners. That's it.
Yes. My mom and Desh's mom, and that was it. But it's a little bit more than that. So thank you so much for that. So a little bit about me. I'm a special education teacher at a state school here. And Desh, what do you do?
I'm a graduate electrical engineer in the mining industry at the moment. But that's what we do.
Yes. Yeah. So how's your week been, Desh? What have you been up to?
It's been good. It's going really fast. I can't believe it's March now.
It is. I know. It's nuts.
Yeah. And it's been really hot on site. It was like 43 degrees average.
Summer's over though. Is it still going to keep getting hot?
I don't know, girl. It's just getting hot and hot. It's just, look, I'm grateful that I don't have to be out of the office as much, but I really feel bad for the actual like frontline workers who work outside when it's like 43 degrees. Yeah, I don't know. And it's like we've got like furnaces as well. So people who work there, it's like I don't know. It should be illegal.
Do they get a special allowance for that when they do that?
Not for working in hot weather, no.
Really? Okay.
But when they do like night shifts and things like that, I think they do. And they work on the weekends as well. So for that, I think they do. But
because in retail, those of you who don't know who are joining in, I do some retail work on the weekends. And we get paid like a cold allowance if we are doing any work in like a fridge or like a cool room or something. We get a special, I mean, it's so minimal, like it doesn't even matter. But at least
it's nice they recognize that.
It is, which is nice.
It's like an incentive to get people to work.
I mean, some people, sometimes in this weather, I would much rather be stuck in a fridge. So you don't have to pay me extra for that. I will willingly sacrifice myself to stay stuck in that fridge.
100%.
So I feel like those workers need to get paid extra for that.
think, well, look, in the mining industry, because you work like 12 hours every day as well, they do get like I think all of that is included in their package. They do get for an example, if you take an electrician working in the mining industry and an electrician working in Adelaide Metro, they do get paid a lot. But they do get a big package because they're mainly compensating for that lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
So they do, but still, I'm just I have a lot of respect for what they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, this week though, I got to drive. Like I don't know if you do, but I only have an automatic driving license.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I can only drive an automatic, but I got to drive a manual ute on site this week.
Wow.
I've got.
Did you choose to do that, or did you have to do it?
No, I didn't have to. But underground, if you're driving underground, that's only manual. But on surface of the site, you can drive. You mainly have automatic utes, but you in this particular team that I work, they have a manual ute. So and we have a lot of supervisors in this team who are like older people with a lot of like at least 15 to 20 experience on the site. So they're older gentlemen, which is so fun to work with them because they're like such pranksters as well.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So they somehow figured that I can't drive a manual and they're like, we're so disappointed in you, Dashani. How can you not? They're like, it's all right. We'll take you under our wing. We'll teach you how to drive a manual. So they've been teaching me how to drive a manual.
But did you get your manual license in Sri Lanka? Or?
No, I got my automatic license. Did you get a manual?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so the way I found out this, like the way they found out was like one time they asked me if I wanted to go around to site with them, and then I was like, yeah, and then it's like, oh, we'll be in the ute, come out whenever you're ready. And then I got my PPE, I put my hard hat on, everything, and then I come out, it's like, and one of them is was sitting on the passenger side and the other one was on the back seat already, like with their seat belt on. I was like, who's gonna drive the ute? It's like, you are. I think it's a good learning opportunity for you, Dashani, so you're gonna do this. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I got in, I was like, there's 3 pedals. Is this a manual? And they're like, yes, it is. I was like, well, I can't drive.
What does that do?
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God. They fully well knew that I couldn't, but yeah, and then...
They still had faith in you though. They put their lives in your hands.
But yeah, one of my buddies who's like a senior project manager, he's like the most patient man I've ever met. It's like so nice, so gentle, so patient. So he taught me how to drive a manual this week, and it was really fun. It was exciting.
Nice.
I think I still need to practice, but it was a good experience.
Some people actually prefer manual over automatic because if you are a well-seasoned driver and you truly enjoy driving, which I don't really enjoy it. But if you do, they say they like a bit more of a challenge with the manual.
A bit more control, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I'm just like passenger princess life,
Oh, that's 100%. But we recently bought a new car, so I've been like, and I only get to drive when I'm in Adelaide. I usually don't drive on site. Yeah. So I enjoy those just, driving to calls or something like that, or to the gym. But other than that, I'm a full passenger princess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, how was your week?
My week has gone really fast as well, like you said. I feel like we do these episodes because we obviously record it weekly. They come so fast.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. But my week's been really hectic because now we're sort of nearing the end of term. Which is nuts again. Yeah. We're week 6. Next week will be week 7. And then 3 more weeks and we're done with the term.
Wow.
I know, it's going really fast. So the kids are getting really tired. And we can see that, it's happening. But then with the kids I work with, a lot of things affect them, their trauma, their family stuff, medication, everything. Like there have been a few days I've come home and just been like dead, So it's been a big week, big on paperwork, big on behaviors. Yeah, we baked a cake yesterday.
How many students have you got in your class?
I've got only 5. 4 now because one student was transferred out of my class because he was kind of getting attacked by the other students. So he was moved out of the class. Yeah. So I've only got 4, but trust me, like I was saying yesterday, we baked a cake and it was so chaotic. It was 2 adults, me and my teacher aide. And we were just like, what do we do? Like they were so excited. They love it. They love cooking. We just make cupcakes. And they were just like running around in circles, like licking everything, eating everything, jumping.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this again. Like it's so chaotic. But then they were so happy when they finally had the cupcake. They were just so excited to eat it. So I was like, okay, maybe next time I'll just be better prepared because it was so hectic. But yeah, we're slowly doing those kind of activities to keep them going till the end of term so that they
Was
like,
this
you know.
the first time you did that exercise, like baking a cake?
I've done it with my previous class in a different school, but they were older. They were like 11 years
Okay.
old. So I used to bake with that class like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis because they could like control themselves
Yeah.
and you know, and they were really good at it. And that was 5 boys or 6 boys. But yesterday I only had 2 boys. And it was so chaotic. Like my teacher Aid and I was just like, wow, what is this?
Well,
like
we're
so
not
much
doing this
noise.
again.
Yeah. But then we were like, okay, maybe we will do it again as kind of okay, if you behave well, then we are gonna bake
Oh yeah,
kind of
like
thing,
a little
like
reward.
little reward, a
Yeah.
little incentive, so that you know they behave.
Bribe
'Cause
them.
we're like, yeah, we don't use that word, okay? It's called encouragement, positive reinforcement. That's what we use.
Right,
But what we really mean is blackmail and bribery.
Yeah.
But hey, it works. It keeps us
Yeah.
alive. It keeps us sane. So
That's
yeah,
good.
that's how it's been. That's been my week. Just pretty standard.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did I watch anything? Oh, I started watching Avatar Airbender this week. I think
Oh,
last
nice.
week. Yeah, the limited series. Have you watched the cartoon?
I have, yes, a while
Yeah,
ago.
I remember. I don't know if you remember, but in Sri Lanka, do you remember there was a TV channel called Art TV?
Yes, of course.
I remember watching Avatar the Airbender, but
I
it
wonder if
wasn't
they
like
still exist.
I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. But I remember seeing, like, watching Avatar the Airbender. Like, they didn't broadcast it, like, every week, but it was, like, every other week or something like that. Or when they felt like it. I don't know. But I remember seeing every, like, odd episode. But then I fully, like, completely completed the whole show after I came here, I think. But, yeah, I've loved it. And watching the limited series was, like, I don't know, very nostalgic. Some of the visual effects are like really good, and some people are complaining about the casting, but I really like the casting, except for some characters. But yeah, it's really good. I've
Yeah.
loved it.
I think, yeah. Since you recommend it, I'll get into it. But like I said in the last episode, I'm not a huge TV person, so
Yeah.
I'll add it to my constantly growing list. So last week, Desh actually recommended the movie. Is it
It
only?
is. It's a TV show. It's one day, but it's
One
like very
day.
short. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the option between
Yeah.
watching that and like this true crime documentary on a stalker, like an online stalker, and I was like,
Which one?
which one? And I think you can all guess what I chose, because I need that constant stimulation
Yeah.
and fear for my brain to function. But I will get
I
to it.
saw you
eventually.
post like a story this morning as well.
Yeah.
You're like casually having breakfast, like Sunday morning breakfast while watching true crime. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this
I
girl?
know. Yeah, it said something like, I remember it was like investigations or abduction or something. I was like, yeah,
Yeah. I was like,
that's fine. People know
casual,
me
that's-
now.
every Saturday morning, like casually.
Yeah,
But
I need
that's
that,
really
girl.
cool though.
I need it. Yeah. I actually, okay, so this is another podcast recommendation that I'm going to give to those of you who like true crime like me. Morbid. It's called Morbid. I think I may have mentioned it before, but it's like my all-time favorite podcast. And they do this series called Listener Tales, which I was just listening to before we started. So it's where people write in their true like crime experiences, what they went through, and it's so much fun. Like I love listening to it because it's actually what happened to people. And this episode was so cool. Like it was like a roller coaster. The two hosts Ashley and Elena, they were like crying, they were laughing, like it was so much fun. And then in the final story, they were like, oh, by the way, the person who wrote the story, I can't remember his name now, but say for example, it's James. Hey, James has something to ask you, Ruby. And then they played this really romantic music. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna wait. And they're like, congratulations, guys. So James and Ruby, who were listening to it, they were proposing. They were doing a proposal. I know, and it was so nice, and like that has never happened. Like I've never listened to something like that before.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know, and it was like this big celebration music, and they were like, "We're so happy." I was like, all the feels. Like, it was really
From true
nice.
crime.
Yeah, I know, and it was so unexpected. Like they were literally just talking about ghosts and demons and all this stuff, and all of a sudden like a proposal, like that would have been such an ideal way to propose to me, like because that is truly like in my soul.
Ryan to do it again,
right? Yeah, get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is truly something that I would love, you know. So it was really nice. Yeah,
it's very
it was
wholesome.
very cute. But yes, so before we go into like a tangent and talk about things that we never even planned of talking about, and before we introduce our topic today, I just thought I'll tell you a little story and see what your answer is going to be and what our listeners think as well. I don't know if you've heard this before. If you have heard it, then it's a bit anticlimactic, but if you haven't. So
I'll pretend.
Yes, you pretend, okay? So the story goes like this. So a father and a son met with an accident. The father died on the spot, and the son was rushed to the hospital. And the surgeon who was operating on him said, I can't operate on him because he's my son. How can that be?
But the father just died.
Yeah.
Okay, a father and son met with an accident. The father just died. The son was rushed to the hospital. And the father's like, okay, so the surgeon's like, I cannot operate on this child because he's my son. What?
Girl, come on.
He's my son. What do you mean? No.
The surgeon was his mother.
Oh. Oh my god.
I know.
Oh my god.
I know. Bias right there, girl. Don't feel bad. I felt the same. I was so embarrassed when, I heard this years ago, and I was so embarrassed when I said the same thing. But it's insane, right? Like, I'll give you a statistic for this. 70% of participants fail to give the correct answer for this. And it's very disappointing.
That's a big percentage, yeah.
It is. But that is how ingrained our perceptions and our, like our culture, what our culture tells us. That's how ingrained it is. Someone like you, who is a millennial, well-educated female, and someone like me, again, millennial, educated female, could fail this. And this is not the only time it's happened. Like last week, someone said something very similar to me. And in my head, I was like, oh, but how can that happen? Like a doctor or something along those lines.
You know what I thought about? I feel like when we talk about true crime, I was like going on ghosts. I was thinking about ghosts. I was like, did the father somehow come out as a ghost to operate on his son? I was like, what am I thinking about here? But no, I do. No, but I wasn't even thinking that. That's
I know.
shocking.
That's what I mean, And this whole thing of, lady doctors. We say lady doctors. You don't file.
You don't have to.
No, you don't find, you don't have to specify that. You don't find anyone saying stay at home dad or a working father. It's always working mother or stay at home mother. Like, why? Why is that a thing? we need to get out of that mindset, and I know that it's a small problem when you compare to all the other problems, but it is still a misconception that we have.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of spreading awareness about this, but you don't really understand how subconsciously it's engraved into our minds until something like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. So that is how we lead in today's topic. Today's topic. Yes, sorry, I can't even English.
Yes.
But we are pre-recording, like I said. But when this
preparing in advance.
Yes, exactly. We're
Look at us.
So
We're like
good.
pros
We're professionals. But yeah, next week is International Women's Day, and we just thought we'll talk about that. We have touched on feminism or spoken about feminism in a previous episode, and the two of us are very passionate about this. So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I actually had some of my guy friends reach out to me as well after.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, how... And they were genuinely asking questions about, oh, how is it then different from gender equality? And like some of the simple questions. But I'm glad like they asked and we had a good discussion about it. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, obviously I speak to MJ about it all the time. And then I was just telling him this morning, you are a product of what you do is a product of feminism as well. You're able to pursue your passions and do whatever you like and experiment in your professional career without having to worry about providing for me or providing for your family. That's a product of feminism. It's because I'm equally as financially responsible for 100%. Us as you are. And that's I was like pointing it out to him. It's like, well, I know because you educated me about it last week.
And it's again like talking about these misconceptions and everything. Something that happened today. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. So our neighbors actually, they were having like this big fight, which like I know, juicy. But they were like screaming. Like we heard this woman screaming. So we live in kind of like a townhouse complex. So we are very close to each other.
Yeah.
So we heard this woman like screaming her head off, and I thought I was upstairs. So I thought Ryan was watching something on TV because it felt so close, So I was like, I just like went running. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I like, I'm so nosy. And then
I am too.
So on our staircase, there's a window facing their house. So I came running from upstairs. Ryan came running from downstairs. And we both meet at the same spot and we're like, what's happening? So I'm like...
Well, it is a safety issue. What if she's in trouble and you need to call the police?
That's why, honestly, that's why. So I opened the window and I was like, shit, like, is there a child involved? Or like, what's going on? So I was looking and like she was just yelling. I don't know what was going on. I couldn't identify if it was a cheating scandal or like what was going on. I know. Anyway, so and then Ryan was like, stop peeking, like they could see you. I was like, no, I just want to make sure she's okay. And I was like, if he lays a hand on her, I'm going to call the police. And then I was like, hang on, even if she lays a hand on him, it's still DV.
Yeah.
And then I had to stop myself. Yeah, I had to stop myself. Like Ryan was like, just mind your business. I was like, no.
Yeah.
If either one of them, like I understand like couples fight and they get angry and raise their voices, but if there's any physical altercation, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the police, And anyway, it didn't get to that. It got to a point, I think, like he walked out of the house and then he was like kind of holding the door closed because I think she was trying to follow him. Or anyway, it didn't get to that. But then Ryan went to work and he was like, okay, if anything happens, you are not going outside to solve other people's problems. I was like, well, thanks for that. You have so much confidence in me. But I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to call the police if anything happens.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like my immediate first reaction was if he lays a hand on her, I'm going to call the police. Yeah. And I had to stop myself and consciously think, no. If she lays a hand on him as well, it's still DV, domestic violence, and I'm still going to call the police. So thankfully, it didn't get to that. Otherwise, I would have had a very interesting Saturday if it did, but it didn't get to that. So,
And unfortunately, there's that that few people who hides behind feminism and do think that it's attacking men and justifying that because of feminism, and that's not
That's
right,
not,
and that's
no.
not what feminism is about.
No.
And we also need to make sure, like, look, I think there was a few comments on that episode that we talk about feminism as well, how today's interpretation is very different from what feminism is actually about. And then I think I agree that, like, there's so much content on the internet, there's so many people talking about different things, and you do have to understand, like, everybody's gonna have different interpretations on what feminism is, and anyone has a different, like, has their own opinion on what feminism is, but that doesn't change the fact that what it actually is.
Exactly.
You can have, and people tend to do that because they are, at the end of the day, we are all biased.
Yeah.
People tend to take what's out there and customize it in a way that's going to be relevant to their values, that relevant to what's close to their beliefs, and openly talk about that and make sure and vocalize what that is. But that doesn't mean that doesn't change the fact that what the real thing is.
Exactly.
So I think you should be wise enough to understand that.
Absolutely.
And especially as a responsible adult in the society, you do have some sort of a social responsibility to talk about the right things and make sure you define the right things for the future generations.
Yeah. And we are not like talking about equality, we are talking about equity. I think that is very important. It's equity that we're talking about, because obviously everyone's circumstances are different, but that doesn't mean that because you are born a certain gender that should determine the opportunities that are given to you, or the freedom that is given to you, or the safety, some of the safety precautions that we as women have to take. Men don't even think about it, like it's not even in their mind, but we have to take all these extra steps, and that is a lot of pressure for a woman, and sometimes men don't really understand that. So
because they're not the they're not on the side of the victim, or they're not on the side of the disadvantage, so you don't know what other people are missing out on. So I guess
that's true.
That's right. So I understand why some men don't understand it, because they've never actively had to think about it.
That's true.
But at the same time, that's why awareness is so important.
And that's what we are trying to do with our podcast as well. I mean, we are obviously not going to talk about feminism in every single episode, but we will touch on it when we can and when we want to. But so International Women's Day is celebrated this year on the 8th of March, which is next Friday, I believe. And the theme is to inspire inclusion. So that's something, we like very firmly stand by and we fully support. And again, equity and talking about providing inclusive opportunities for women. And fun fact, actually, the first International Women's Day was held in March 1911. So it was a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. So we've come, I think, a long way from then, but probably not enough, I think.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but we've got a long way to go, and baby steps, but hopefully our kids will one day have a world where they don't have to think twice about their safety or
answering the question you asked.
Exactly. They don't have to think twice about it. So and personally coming from an education background or working in the education sector, I thought I'll just have tell you some statistics about education of girls, and because I found it really interesting. So I think we sit in a very privileged part of the world, even though we kind of don't say that or we don't realize it. We are quite privileged that we are even able to dress the way we do, talk the way we do, go where we want. Like, yes, of course, we have our problems and safety issues and all that, but it's nothing compared to what a lot of other girls are
Yeah.
facing, where they don't have their
Yeah.
basic rights met.
Yeah.
So the area in the world that has the most number of girls out of school is the sub-Saharan African region, which is very sad. And in Afghanistan, I read that the mass exclusion of girls from education means that 60% of girls are not in primary school, and 74% of girls are not in lower secondary education.
Wow.
And these are
It's
statistics.
2024 and
I
girls can't
know.
go
And these
get
are statistics,
education. It's
yeah, that I got from the
ridiculous.
UNESCO website. So it's very legit
Shocking.
numbers. And it's very sad to think that
Yeah.
obviously male education is more valued over female education, because women are just kind of seen as just baby makers, or, you know,
Yeah.
just carriers of a womb, or like they are
Yeah.
only able to do like motherly duties, when women are so much, I mean, of course motherly duties are so essential to the world.
Important. Yeah.
Absolutely, but it's having that choice again to choose
Yeah.
to do it or choose not to do it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. And I also wanted to touch on the Sri Lankan education, because obviously we are both Sri Lankan. And so in Sri Lanka, this is something I read in the Sunday Observer from 2022, that Sri Lankan girls have greater educational attainment on average compared to boys, which is great.
Yes.
But women in the labor force, their participation is much lower than women's.
Wow.
Sorry, than men's. So basically, their education.
What does that mean?
So more
Participation
girls,
is
yes, so
lower.
more girls are in school and in university, but it doesn't translate into the workforce.
As in,
So those same
there's
educated women don't come into the
they're
work.
not working.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so obviously something is happening along the way to stop them. So the Sri Lankan national literacy rate is actually 93%, which
Yeah,
is
it's pretty good.
quite high for
Yeah, very good.
our part of the world. Absolutely, really good. And this is something I think we've been told from a young age, that it's, you know, something that Sri Lanka excels in.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's just not translating into the workforce as yet. I mean, I'm guessing that, like, I feel like a lot of women in Colombo are working in the workforce.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, Colombo is such a small percentage
Yeah, exactly.
of the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So something is happening along the way to stop them from joining the labor force.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of regional parts or rural parts of Sri Lanka don't necessarily have the right, I would say, facilities maybe for a woman to work, maybe. But yeah, that's in no way does that mean that it's acceptable, or yeah. Yeah, I just thought like that's interesting as well, because I also wanted to talk about gender balance is something that's very that a lot of companies push for these days to attract more workforce, especially in the STEM industries, because I'm from STEM and I see companies constantly pushing to get more female representation in their company when it comes to STEM side. So I'm so grateful to be working in a company that promotes gender balance.
Yeah.
They've and I love how they're like, it's not just male and female, it's other categories as well. But I remember before I joined the current company, when a lot of these companies announced wanting to achieve gender balance, there was a lot of discussion about this among various different types of groups where I worked at the time, or like outside of work. But it's like, oh, they're just gonna, because it's just another KPI for them. They're just gonna hire women who are not qualified just to meet that KPI. And I had my doubts about it because I was not very experienced about that process or anything. And that is not true. That does not mean they make the hiring process a special hiring process just for females. That's not true. They're gonna that you have to understand when a company makes that announcement that they're gonna achieve gender balance, or they're gonna focus on hiring, or they're gonna focus on increasing their female representation, there's a lot of investment that goes into it. That means they're gonna have to market to, so a company can easily say, oh, we don't get as many female applications from females, and just call it a day. But no, you have to go out of your way to encourage females to work at your workplace. You have to make sure that you let them know that it's a safe workplace for them to work. And you have to make sure that they're going to be valued, that they're going to have growth opportunities at your workplace. So I think there's a lot of work, a lot of investment that needs to be put into if you want to increase your the female representation in your company. And it's not, and it doesn't stop there. You can hire a bunch of frontline workers who are females and call it a day. It does not stop there. You have to increase the leadership, female representation in leadership roles as well. So it's a lot more than that. So it's better than doing nothing and just being sad about, oh, we don't have any females. So I think companies need to be appreciated when they do when they do go out of their way to do this, because if a workplace is safe and encouraging and productive for a woman to work, it's a better workplace for a man to work as well.
Yes, and before we started this podcast, you mentioned, like, you did some research on gender pay gap. What can you tell us about that?
I did a bit of gender pay gap, but I don't know if I know enough to talk about it, because I am still a bit confused on how that is calculated. Because a lot of the research, like a lot of the articles that I read, was like an annual salary, based off on an annual salary, and that's a bit different, because if it's they don't talk about a salary gap between the hourly rate. It's the annual wage men and women earn, and apparently Australia's got a 21.9% or something wage gap. But I'm not unsure on how that's calculated, but I think it talks about if a woman don't, like, for an year, if a man works, like, let's say 400 hours, but a woman doesn't work as many hours, of course there's going to be a gap. Because she didn't work as many hours. But I remember, like, as you said, why couldn't the woman work that full amount?
I think that's
hours?
Like the very important thing to, like, when this whole gender pay gap issue comes up, like, of course, I mean, I'm not aware of companies that pay differently, like hourly, if there's an hourly difference in the rates they pay based on gender. I'm not aware of companies who do that. But I think the bigger issue is why women choose to sometimes go part-time or, work less hours. What are the reasons? So most of the reasons, I think, personally, are, or the biggest reason I would say that I think is, looking after children. So, because I feel like society has kind of told women that, okay, that is, like, you gave birth, and, after your maternity leave and whatever ends, it is still your responsibility, because you are the mother, you are the caretaker, you are the default parent, and you have to, even if you don't want to, you still have to stay at home to look after this child. Whereas the father is the breadwinner. And it's really sad, because sometimes maybe, depending on how understanding the partner is, or, how understanding the family is, sometimes women do get to choose, to go out to work, but some don't. They're kind of pressured into feeling that they need to stay at home and look after the children. And some, like, obviously some love to do it, and, they choose to do it, which is absolutely amazing. But then, of course, then there's going to come, there's going to be the problem of the gender pay gap. And the thing is, right now, it may not affect you. And, this is something that She's on the Money, the podcast that we spoke about last week, they really emphasize on this, and I absolutely love that, is, superannuation. So women think, okay, in the short run, okay, I'm not working, my partner is working, that's okay. He's earning enough to, bring in money to support us both. but then you are also sacrificing your superannuation.
That's right.
And that is because obviously superannuation compounds over time. And when you don't
Yeah.
make that for a few years, then of course you lose out on all that compounding
It's a big
interest.
amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, some people are very lucky that they have a lifetime partnership and a partner who is willing to support them even in the future. But I
that's
think we
true.
all know the reality is that it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people come to disagreements and they go their separate
Yeah.
ways. And I think I heard this again on She's on the Money, that women over 55 are the most vulnerable to homelessness because
Wow.
most times by that time their partner has left them, and
Wow.
their kids, maybe they're grown up or maybe they're teenagers or whatever, and they don't have enough superannuation, they don't have enough money to support themselves. And I read this, like this one episode that I listened to, this girl was saying she took extended maternity leave, but then she got her partner to do contributions to her superannuation, which was so
Wow.
nice.
Very smart.
Yeah, very smart. And I mean, obviously, the partner has to be earning enough to kind of do that
Yeah.
plus supporting the family. But that is, I
Yeah.
think, like a very nice thing, one thing for her
Yeah.
partner to do as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like not a lot of, partners
think,
would
yeah.
like to do that.
Yeah.
Because that
I
is
don't think most men are progressive like that.
yeah, but the fact
yeah.
that she was able to have that discussion with her partner and make
Yeah.
that choice, because then she's kind of setting herself up for the future, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. And she's raising their child.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
even if they don't split up, the superannuation contributions is gonna keep, like they're both gonna be benefited
from it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I
Oh,
mean.
that's pretty
Like,
cool.
yeah, with the whole gender gay. Oh, guys, I swear I should
Too
be
passionate about
I
it.
should be a meme sometimes. The things that I say.
I love it. I love it.
I almost said the gender gay pap.
Gay pap. That's a new topic. Gender gay pap. I love it. Might as well be.
I'm tired. Okay, it's been a big week. But the gender.
Almost there, girl. We're almost there.
Oh my god, the gender pay gap.
Pay gap.
Yes, the pay gap. I forgot what I was trying to say.
Right.
But yes, so the gender pay gap
Yeah.
exists because of a reason. And what can we do as a society? And obviously the government plays a huge part in this as well.
Yeah.
To
And I think it's
reduce
more
that.
prominent in like leadership roles, not necessarily the entry level roles. I think they have set salary packages or something like that. But when you go into leadership roles, that's when you can actually negotiate your salary, and a lot of companies there's a lot of opportunity for people to hide behind, or you don't bring these to the table, you don't bring these skills.
Yeah.
So we're only willing to pay this much if you have these skills or
Yeah.
these qualifications. Qualifications are something that you can always get, but
Yeah.
both men and women, but it's based on their experiences and yes, the sort of guidance or the sort of experience decision making. That's when a lot of these negotiations are done.
Yeah.
I think, especially in leadership roles. That's why there's more need for female representation in leadership roles, because
Absolutely.
like you said, people think so back in the day women were just considered baby making machines and taking care of the family and taking care of the children and organizing everything for the family. And I think that is why women are such good leaders, because
Absolutely.
we've evolved. It's because of evolution
Those
that we're good
multitasking
leaders.
skills, girl.
Exactly.
We need
You know what
those.
they say? If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done,
Done.
ask a woman,
I agree.
So we are framed this way because of evolution, because I think women naturally have those leadership skills and I think I also read how men's leadership style is a bit more task oriented or more goal oriented, which is great, which you need. But whereas a female leadership style is a bit more of a collaborative approach, making sure everyone's heard, making sure everyone's fairly treated. And that is also required for a sustainable future.
100%.
And that is why a lot of companies, I've heard, like a lot of companies, every time they're in a crisis, they change their leadership to a woman, like, or a female person. But that is also that can also be unfortunately a tactic, so that if anything goes wrong, you can blame it on the woman. But there's also a psychological tactic behind that, because women are more suited to handle a crisis better than men sometimes. There's also that sort of strategy behind that, but I've heard that companies often do that. But yeah, and I remember one of the senior leaders came and spoke to us in one of the graduate events. She's an absolute boss, and I love her. I was sitting next to her on Friday, and I was just like in
fangirling.
Yes, and she looks absolutely beautiful, and she's just so cool.
Yeah.
And just the way she talks, and she used to be an amazing lawyer in this big law firm, and she told us that when she became pregnant for the first time, she went and told her leader at the time in this law firm that she was so excited apparently, and then she told her boss that, oh, she's pregnant. And then the first words to come out of this leader's mouth was like, oh, we're not going to have a job when you come back. And that was shocking in a law firm. And obviously they can always say, oh, because they don't have it on record, they're going to be like, oh, we never said that. What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. But she said that was shocking to her, because she was like expecting like to be congratulated or like, how excited they were. But yeah, and I think like unfortunately she's had that experience, but it's shocking, and it probably I really hope no one experiences that, because that's just insane. But there are work cultures. I think there's a long way to go for companies to improve their work culture, and that is why like it's so important. Like now it's almost, I think I know right now, because there's a bit of a like a crisis on the job market, but there used to be a time where like employers needed to work hard to attract the right employees, which is what it should be. So that all current employees can rate their current workplace on their work-life balance and all of these things. And especially being in a mining industry, it never used to be a very pleasant workplace for women. I think it's come a long way, and I'm glad to say that I've never experienced anything unfortunate so far. But I'm very early into the career. But I've spoken to some engineers who's joined like few years ago, like, and this is not like really long ago. It's like 7-8 years ago. But one of the grads then told me like when she first joined the company, she was told what not to wear in the gym. Yeah, that's what their orientation consisted of. It's changed now. Like nobody says that those things now. It's much more of a accepting, inclusive place now. But yeah, just to think that there was a time when it's pretty shocking.
But that being said, I think I may have sent you a video this morning.
Oh my god.
That guy, Will Hutchins. So on Instagram, there's this creator called Will Hutchins. He's a Gold Coast, so he's based in Australia. He's a creator from the Gold Coast,
nice.
And I love him. Honestly, he's incredible. He just takes like bits from these manfluencers, podcasts. Who gave some men a microphone, right?
Have you heard that song?
What?
Like, I can't remember the lyrics, but don't give men microphones or something like that.
No, I mean, accurate.
There's like some lady, some
accurate.
TikToker made like a whole
Oh,
song
really?
about,
Yeah, exactly. So
stop giving men microphones, something like that. But yeah, really
so basically,
it was really funny.
Yeah, this guy takes little bits from podcasts and like he kind of makes jokes out of them, and I love it because he gets a lot of hate from men for the things he says, but he's fully about equality and like defending women. But then he also does the opposite, where if a woman, like I think I sent you this as well,
Yeah.
this woman was talking about how she needs a high value man, and men who do
Oh my God. I
jobs
just
like
can't.
I know
I
this high value.
cannot.
Oh, so she was talking about people who do jobs like police officers or like cleaners or retail workers. Those are not high value enough for her, and like bullshit like that. So anyway, he completely like tore her down, and being a woman, like
Yeah.
he still did it. And then the one that I saw recently, it's like three men having a podcast, and it just gets progressively worse. Like just when you think it can't get worse, I'm just like, so this first man says, oh, like women don't need to go to a gym to maintain their physique. They just need to walk. And walking is enough for women. And then the other
And not eat.
yeah. And then the other guy is like, oh yeah, because all women who go to gym are hoes. And he's like, oh yeah, women who go to the gym, all they want to do is, whatever, sleep around or whatever.
Well, I feel like they're just doing it for the
the views.
Just to
That's the
just to
thing.
get
That's why I didn't really want to
you
share
can't
it.
be that stupid.
Yeah.
You can't be this stupid and like be like you shouldn't be allowed to walk freely. Like if you truly believe that you shouldn't be allowed to walk freely, you should be in a institution getting the help you need.
So he
if
said
you
that.
truly believe
So the two of them said that, and then someone else butts in, and he's like, "Yeah, and who is looking after the kids when the women are at the gym?" And then they all just have this big discussion about, like women are just meant to have babies, like who? And then this one guy says, and having babies destroys a woman's body, and I acknowledge that, I understand that. But that's what you're made for. That's your job. Oh, the rage inside me, girl. I was like, fumes coming out of my ear. I was so angry. And then this guy, Will Hutchins, he just
and how are they like? I really hope that they're single. Like, I really hope a woman is like. Yeah, I'm like, surely don't lower your standards and date these.
I worry for the women. If they are with women, I really worry for those women. Like, someone needs to call them and be like, girl, blink twice if you need help. Because they honestly.
But yeah, I feel like I genuinely like if they are actually real about it, I think they need help. But I reckon, like I'm even convinced, like Andrew Tate, like I reckon he does it
just
for the views.
Yeah, probably.
There's no way.
Probably.
There's no way.
Because any feedback or any publicity is still publicity, right? So like you're still getting the views, you're still making money. Like who cares? I mean, that's something like I could never do. Like, I would rather be homeless than doing that kind of thing to get that kind of negative attention. Because you do have that.
Yeah, and like I said before, you do have that social responsibility. Like how are you sleeping? How are you getting a peaceful sleep after you do those things, right? So it's interesting.
Moving on from that, I actually wanted, because you spoke about your workplace and gender equality. You obviously work in a very traditionally male-dominated industry, and I can see that it's changing, and I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. Likewise, I work in a very female-dominated industry, the education sector, and I found some statistics that are really interesting. So this is a study, and I'm solely talking about Australia because obviously that's where I'm working. So in the male versus female representation in the education sector in Australia, this was a study done in 2019. So it was a few years ago. Only 71.7% of the workforce were female, and only 28.3% were male. So that is a huge difference. But in comparison, 50 years ago, which was like in the 70s, 58.7% were female and 41.3% were male. So there were more males in the education sector 50 years ago than there are males now, which is really interesting because you would think that back then there would be less males, but it's actually now it's less males.
But do you think it's because women back then weren't encouraged to pursue something like that? Or now
I
there
don't
are a lot more
know.
opportunities?
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be like a variety of reasons. But I think
Yeah.
even now, like the school that I'm currently working at, the whole admin team is females. So the principals and the deputy principals, they're all female, which is great, and I love that. But the previous school I worked at, it was two males and one female. So what I found that is even in leadership in schools, it's still males who are dominating leadership, whereas the actual teaching staff or the support staff are very much female dominated. So there's still that kind of, you know, disparity between male and female.
Yeah.
And in the education sector, they really do push for equality. But I think
Right.
men are less actively choosing to study teaching because maybe they see it
Yeah.
as, I don't know, like a more female kind of job, or I don't know
Yeah.
what, or as like less important, or I don't know what
Yeah.
they actually see. But I have
Well,
personally only worked with like two male teachers, even though I'm still quite new to the sector, but still I've only known two male
yeah.
teachers.
But it makes me think, I've seen a few TikToks of like these male teachers. Um and they're very wholesome, and it's just their whole demeanor, their whole
Absolutely.
personality is just such a very soft, such a very, I don't know, very attractive
It
personality. I'm like,
is.
oh, it's
I
like so
know.
sweet. I wish I had a teacher like you,
Yeah.
because it's like they work so well with.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not generalizing, but I'm just talking about these few creators
Yeah.
that's posted, but it's just so wholesome and it's
Wholesome.
so nice. And
Exactly.
I wish more people were like this, more teachers were
100%.
like this.
100%. Like they're
Yeah.
so supportive, and they're really passionate about their jobs, and it's
Yeah.
incredible to see because that's exactly what we need, so that
Exactly.
the males who learn under them can grow up and have inspirational figures like that,
Yeah.
instead of always having like a female teacher. And you know how we talked about the biases we have with doctors, like we always jump to the conclusion that the doctor is a male. In the same
Yeah.
way, I feel like if someone told me, or my son's or my daughter's teacher said this, and then I would like immediately think of a female teacher, and then they were like, oh, he said. I was like, wait, what do you like? I would be like, what do you mean he? Oh, it would take me a while
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
for that to make sense in my head, and I'm embarrassed about it, because it shouldn't
Yeah.
happen, but it's unlearning years and years and years of things that we've been told from the time we were
100%.
like
Yeah.
babies, and
Yeah. And I
actually
think,
realizing that.
yeah. And I think, there's all this big emphasis, big focus on encouraging females to move into these STEM fields and things like that. Maybe there should be a big emphasis on male students to move into this teaching industry, or like health, or like medical industry and
Yeah,
things like
like
that. You see a lot of female
nurturing
nurses.
industries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because they are equally as capable, and maybe that would make like a family situation a lot better, so they're more
Absolutely.
equipped to take care of their children and other
Yeah.
children. And maybe there should be an equal emphasis and equal importance given to
Yeah.
that side as well.
Yeah. Like even when you say
Yeah, interesting.
nurses, in like
Yeah.
if you say the word
I feel like
nurse, we think of a
yeah,
female.
that's a word that describe to that's a term describing a female
Female,
occupation.
yeah.
I feel like almost.
And then you say
Yeah,
like
that's
a
right.
male nurse. You don't say a female nurse. You just say a
Femaleness,
male nurse,
yeah.
Like
That's
you have to
right.
make that description to make it clear to people. And it's like, why?
Yeah,
Why does that happen? You know?
that's right. Yeah. I wonder if the percentage, so the gender ratio that you spoke about is in the education industry, is the same as like is the same in Sri Lanka, because I went to a girls' school and we didn't have any male teachers. my school wouldn't specifically hire male teachers. I remember
Really?
in
Wow.
my whole 13 years of experience in that school, we've only had one male teacher. That's only because only for one unit, because our teacher at the time went on maternity leave,
Right.
and they couldn't get a substitute teacher, so they got another, like a private tuition sir or someone
So
to
they're
teach
like,
us
fine,
that.
we'll settle for a man.
Yeah, which I don't know. I feel like my school experience was like, I loved it. But I also feel like I really loved it because not because it's like a girls only school, but I really enjoyed being among female teachers and female students. It was just not because I don't think it was like very feminine or anything like that, but we were just very we were allowed to be ourselves, not be like, I don't know. So I don't know, because I feel like if you're in a, but I don't believe that that is the way though. I feel like mixed schools are the way to go, because that adds more value to you as an adult, especially preparing you to be in the adult society, than the other way. But in saying that, I really did enjoy my school experience. But yeah, it was just,
Yeah, it's the same for us.
But I wonder if it's the same thing.
I feel like it'll be a bigger disparity because, like you say, like I think in my school we only had one male teacher, and I'm like, that poor guy. Like, what did he do in his breaks and stuff? Like
Yeah.
he probably could not, relate to anyone there because it was, very very female dominated.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, like, we don't even have male washrooms in our school.
Yeah, we don't either. No.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that now. I don't know if that's okay. Like, you know how we all have these days,
that's
like
so
English
interesting.
days,
Yeah.
science days, and all of that,
Yeah.
and you invite all these schools to come and participate on these days. You invite boys' schools and things like that. And then we don't even have a
Yeah,
washroom
that's so
for them. We don't have a
true.
toilet that they can use.
Wow.
So I don't think that's
I've
okay.
never even thought about that, but that's crazy. It's, oh my gosh, it's like a different world, honestly, back home. Like, I wonder if it's still the same. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
But it's like a different world back then. And I think someone had commented on one of our videos saying that he went to like a co-ed school for his whole life. And he can see, like, he firmly believes that it really enriched his life. And he can firmly see in the workforce the difference between people who went to co-ed schools and who went to single-sex schools. And we spoke about this last week as well. But it does make a huge difference. If you are taught to be scared of a certain gender your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're expected to be like, oh, okay, now you're equals. You just have to work together.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, no, how can I, like, this person's an alien, And I was taught to hate this person my whole life, and now I'm supposed to just work with them. So
yeah, exactly. And empathize. And it's like, I don't know how to empathize. I don't know what their behaviors are and how they're going to react to certain things that I do. I don't know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, it made me think it's not so much a big deal in, I still think in like boys' schools in Sri Lanka, they've got female teachers.
Yeah.
They've got a large number of female workforce there, but so that's probably the same then, because there's more female teachers than male teachers, I guess.
I wonder if it's the school discriminating, and because obviously there are male teachers as well in male schools, in boys' schools.
Yeah.
So do they just not have, like a requirement when it comes to gender? Whereas you said your school didn't hire males unless they were like desperate. So like I wonder, like, if anyone knows about the recruitment process in schools.
Yeah, but I think it's also to do with, I think in Sri Lanka it's a different place, so you also have that safety issue. Especially in primary schools and things like that, there's a lot more, well, unfortunately there's that safety issue where a lot of people are concerned about, but at the same time
then again it's also a bit of it's like a double-edged sword, I think, and it's like very, like it's kind of generalizing and kind of being like, okay, well, in schools in Australia, right? In primary schools, like you say, if your child had a male teacher, you wouldn't be scared that that's going to be a pedophile,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's just not something that anyone really.
It's school's responsibility to
Yeah.
do a background check and
Which
hire. That's the
we're
thing.
very
I think
strict
instead
with.
of instead of discriminating, maybe you should make the
The
system
processes,
so solid
yeah,
so that you don't allow any of these
Mm.
creeps to come.
exactly,
or
because in
making
Australian
sure-
schools,
yeah.
like even the cleaners have to have like a work with children check. It's very strict.
Exactly.
Even if you literally walk through a school, like you're a construction worker and you walk from one end of the school to the other end, you have to have a blue card, which is like the working with children check. They're so strict,
Yeah.
which those processes don't
Yeah.
exist in Sri Lanka. So,
Exactly.
and in the same way, women can also be pedophiles, just the same way that men can be.
Yeah.
And we've heard countless stories of women, like in America and stuff, sleeping with like younger males, like teenagers in high school.
Yeah.
And the comments on some of those posts are so atrocious. It's like, oh, I wish I had a teacher like that. Or, he's so lucky. And that is, you don't realize that is grooming. That is rape. If you sleep with a minor, that is rape. There is no consensual or non-consensual. It's either consensual if you're an adult. It's not if you're underage, it's rape, So
yeah, exactly. And I think instead of maybe discriminating, you should maybe take the responsibility and work towards making the system so foolproof, so solid, so that you can give the students of that school the best experience possible.
Yeah, and no one slips through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly. But
wow.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird situation, I guess. Yeah.
I think we have a long way to go in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, of course.
Like us talking,
but
obviously, because we've experienced Australia, now we can see, Sri Lanka in that way and be like, wow, we have like a long way to go. In retrospect, we have a long way to go, so.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we spread awareness, the more we get people to think about this.
Yes,
is
exactly.
I think,
and that is exactly what we want.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting, actually.
And we would love to
I
hear.
hope like it makes
your comments,
other
and
people's
your thoughts
experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
and
comment.
I hope this conversation prompts everyone else to think about like their past experiences and how they view things, and interesting. That was an interesting conversation, but I thought to bring the whole podcast to a maybe on a lighter note, I'll discuss some of the movie recommendations because I watch too much TV and too many movies. I thought I'll give you guys some movie recommendations about some of the cool boss babes. Some of the stories revolving around really cool women. Have you seen the movie Hidden Figures?
I haven't, no.
It's about 3 female mathematicians who work for the NASA. Right. It's based on a true story. The main protagonist is Katherine Johnson. So she's a famous mathematician. She was famous for calculating trajectories that was critical to the success of the first crewed space flights for USA.
And how long ago was this?
Oh, I don't know. I think that was like long ago when they had. I remember watching this and it was like really good. And I love watching these stories because I get very inspired because they go through all these hardships and then I'm like sitting on my couch highly privileged and complaining about how my life is so hard and how I can't get this one assignment done. But I can't remember, but I will maybe put the link in the description for these movies. But I remember there were scenes in this movie. So this was the story revolves around when racism was such a big thing back then. So in NASA, they used to have colored bathrooms. So like colored women can go to. So she was hired for this special project because they were preparing to take crew members to space. So they had to make sure that everything's right because they're putting actual humans in there. But in that office that they were allowed to work, they didn't have any colored bathrooms. So she had to go out of that building, walk like 20-30 minutes to a building that had a colored bathroom.
That's disgusting.
And you have some really cool male characters there as well. There's Jim Parsons in that as well. Yeah, and then she has a different, so she's obviously the only female scientist in that room. There's obviously admin ladies and things like people like that, but she has a different coffee pot that nobody else touches because she's colored. But yeah, there's so many of those things that are addressed in this movie, but it's so inspirational. There's a character who's a female engineer who wants to be a female engineer, but she's not allowed to study engineering. So she's only allowed to do calculations, but she goes to court and somehow convinces or wins that court case, but she's only allowed to go to engineering classes, only the night classes, but not the day classes or something like that. But she's happy with that because she gets to study it.
Exactly.
But it's it's so nice, and it's but yeah, it's just such a great movie. It's a feel good movie. Highly recommend. And the other movie is Erin Brockovich, which I think she this movie won an Oscar as well. Yeah. And Julia Roberts in this movie, she's amazing.
She's incredible. She's just full stop incredible. But in the movie, she's on another level.
Yeah, and those who don't know, it's about an American paralegal and also an environmental activist. She was pivotal in building a case against Pacific Gas and Electric Company involving groundwater contamination. She's such a badass in that movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but you should watch it. It's just so cool.
We both recommend it 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, it's interesting how that's the thing that inspires me the most is how passionate they are about what they do, which is what I think what everyone should get from these movies or these TV shows, because at the end of the day, you should be that is why people emphasize so much about doing what you love, because then you can give your 100% to it and not feel exhausted. Because, and I think that is the whole reason why I used to love watching Big Bang Theory as well, because they're not real scientists, but it's just the passion they have. They're such nerds, but it's just the passion they have for what they do. Even in their daily life, they just talk about how, how simple tasks in their life, how that's related to the scientific principles or things like that. It's just, they have so much fun talking about it because they really like what they do. It doesn't really have to be about science or anything else, but as long as you're enjoying it, as long as you're passionate about it, I think that's what matters. That's what make you do great things. So yeah, I really it inspires me. So I wish everyone, I really hope everyone would see these two movies, but because they're such great movies.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah, and I also think and another thing that I wanted to highlight in our podcast was this community called STEM Sisters.
Okay.
It's I think if you search STEM Sisters, I think it's an Australian community. You can get more information on their website and also on their LinkedIn as well. I'll make sure to link both of them in our podcast.
Can you define what STEM is for those of that are
it's science, technology. Yeah, so it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yeah.
So that's what STEM stands for. So like we said, there's a big emphasis on getting more female representation in the STEM industry. So that's why I think I wanted to highlight this community. It's a community committed to empower and support women of color in STEM to achieve their full potential. So they have a lot of initiatives to provide resources and guidance for all women of color at all stages of their STEM career. So there's when you talk about that, there's uni students and fresh graduates, and then STEM, there's women who come back to their STEM careers after taking a break. So they've got so many mentorship programs and networking programs, which I think are really important because I'm a recent STEM graduate. And when I joined the workforce, there was a lot of questions because once you study the theory in uni, but once you come out, there's so many industries that you can go to, so many, but you don't necessarily know what's good for you or what's best for you or what you're going to enjoy doing because you haven't tried everything. But there are people who have, and I found this, like, I personally I haven't had much engagement with this community because I recently found out about it. And I think I really also want to highlight that this is founded by a fellow brown girlie. It's founded by Dr. Ruangi Fernando.
And she's I'm gonna,
yeah, that's right. So that's very exciting, and I think it's amazing of her to take this initiative and provide such great service to the community. And I think I want to highlight, so once I graduated, I had all these questions about what I want to do, what's best for me, what am I going to enjoy. So it really helped me when I spoke to few of the senior engineers about what their career trajectory was, what decisions they took at different stages of their lives, and it was really, I think what I could relate to the most, or what was really important, was when I spoke to those female engineers. And it was like, I took this decision at this stage of my life. I thought this opportunity is going to give me the best work-life balance because I'm about to have a kid, or so I think it's really important. I think that's why this initiative taken by this community is so close to my heart, because I know how desperate some of the graduates are for this type of mentorship programs and things like that. So do reach out to this community and check out their programs if you need any assistance or any help, because I think that could really help shape you, help you shape your career. I think that's like such a cool thing.
Absolutely.
To especially help women of color.
100%.
And that's I mean, STEM industry for women is already hard, and for women of color it's just like another setback. So, and it doesn't have to be if we have such communities helping us.
If we have opportunities to overcome those, then that's what everyone needs, I think. We're, again, equity, right? We talk about equity.
Exactly.
There you go, right there. This has been such a great episode, honestly. I've loved it. I've been so passionate about it, and it's been amazing talking to you, Dash, about it. And I'm sure our viewers and our listeners have loved it. I hope they have. But we would love to hear your comments, and we would love if you can, rate our podcast on Spotify and Apple. That would really help us as well, and help us keep doing what we are doing. So
and also give us your thoughts on what you would like us to talk about, any sort of topics or any. I think we've already gotten so much, so many amazing feedback and so many amazing topics that we are really excited to talk about in the future, but keep them coming. It's
never too much, so keep them coming.
Exactly. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you really enjoyed this episode. We really enjoyed this episode.
Definitely.
But so let's meet again next week.
Have a good week, everyone, and you too, Dash. Take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
You too. Have fun. Hang in there. We've got 3 more weeks to go.
So close.
All right. See you, everyone.
See you. Bye. Bye.